We going live. We going live. Good. Welcome to the best days of your life. I hope that you are feeling magical. I hope you are feeling amazing. I hope you are feeling loved. I hope you know you are loved. And I hope you are feeling like God's favorite child. Welcome to the best days of your life. Today, we are getting into our shadow, right? We're getting into our shadow. Our shadow is the dark figure of ourselves. It is the dark side of ourselves. It is typically the side of ourselves that we try to hide from others, right? This is our bad attitudes. This is our bad moods. These are our perspectives that go against just the normalcy of things. So this is the dark figures of ourselves. So we're evaluating the dark figures of ourselves, our dark shadow, in order to create a better version of ourselves, right? And bring out more of that purity of who we truly are. So how does this come about, like these dark figures of ourselves? Some of these things are chemically based, right? You might have heard such and such has a bad attitude, just like their grandpa had a bad attitude, things like that, right? And these things can have a ripple effect if we hear them, right? If we're young and we hear about our bad attitude, it might cause for us to take more of that persona on, right? So these things can be a part of our genetics, right? These dark figures of ourselves can be a part of our genetics, and it also can be learned behaviors, right? Being in a household or being cared for by somebody who has a negative mindset and they're always speaking negativity and they're always speaking negativity onto you, which is something that a lot of us, I feel like, experience just coming from the background that we come from, dealing with slavery, dealing with discrimination. It calls for you to be extremely aggressive and so or volatile, living in certain communities, right? Me living in a city, I felt like living in New Orleans, I felt like there was a need to have like this tough attitude in order to protect ourselves, right? So we take on these dark figures, we take on these bad moods and bad attitudes for different reasons. Sometimes it can be being raised by a mother who has a bad attitude, who just sees life in a negative light, and they pass on those ways of interacting with the world onto us, and we took that on and just rode off in the sunset with it, right? So what we do know is dark figures of self is in everybody, right? We all have something that we could be working on to bring out a better version of ourselves, a more lighter, freer, a more happier, more pure, more blissful sense of self. So in order for us to get there, we have to understand, where does that dark figure of self reside? Where is the place or the aspects within me that I can better improve? Okay. So with your dark figure self, I find that it is extremely difficult sometimes to address your dark figures of self, because it requires for you to do a lot of self-evaluation, right? And with this self-evaluation, it causes for you to be honest. It causes for you to make some tough realizations about yourself and where you can improve in, right? Many of us are running from that side of ourselves because it's not easy to deal with. When you're dealing with something that you need to change internally, no matter what it is, you might be dealing with procrastination, right? You might be dealing with just lack of excitement and just being optimistic about life, looking at life with, you how to say, looking at the glass half full versus looking at it half empty, right? So sometimes you might be a person who struggles to find the brighter aspects of things, right? You're always focused on the negative. So there's different places and elements that we need to work on. But the most important thing is taking those baby steps to getting there. But it requires for you to acknowledge, hey, I need to work on procrastination. Hey, I need to work on being more honest. I need to work on just some self improvement that will help me enjoy life to a better level, right? And a lot of this stuff is for, a lot of these things can be generational trauma, right? You might look into your family and see a lot of obesity, a lot of unhealthy eating habits, right? And you have taken on those personas, you have taken on that perspective and that way of life and just joined in, right? So this is gonna cause for you to go against the grain, to build new habits, to build a new perspective and outlook on life. Is it easy? No, but it's so rewarding, right? And also the journey of the challenges, you're literally forming and creating a new person, right? When you decide to say, hey, I'm going to work on these dark figures of myself, I'm not going to be the person who's always negative, I'm not going to be negative Nancy, I am not going to be stuck in procrastination, right? I am not going to be stuck in a bad mode. I'm not going to be stuck in a nasty attitude. And I'm not going to just settle for what I see around me. I know that I can use my vision over my physical sight. There's more to life that is just what the eyes can see, right? The physical eyes can see. There's so much more. That's why it's important for us to use our first eye, right? Our first eye, most important eye, using our inner mind, our intuition to create more of what we want, right? You have to fight against the generational trauma. You have to fight against the unhealthy habits that your mother and father had. You have to fight against just the inner conflict. Because most of it is inner conflict, right? There's something that you want to do, but somewhere inside of you, you're telling yourself you can't do it, right? So we are fighting against all of those different elements. So you're in fact on a battlefield, but it's more of a mental battlefield than anything else. Mind over matter, right? So we're building our mental muscle to be stronger than all these circumstances that are around us. Okay, so how do we get to working on our dark figure, right? On this dark aspect of us, on those negative elements of us? How do we get to working on it? Being honest, right? Be completely honest with yourself, with the emotions that you're attempting to hide, those feelings that you're attempting to hide. Okay, so I have some questions, and these questions, journaling is super important. It has shown to statistically, it has proven to be such a major benefit in the journey of self-improvement, in the journey of mental um well-being, right? So here's some things that I just can't stress how important it is to journal. People think it's so cliche, they don't want to do it, or they'll do it 1 or 2 times and like that's it. But when you journal, you find out so much more about yourself, so much more about yourself that you wasn't willing to communicate, right? There's some things that you have not shared with others, some things that is hurtful for you to even say. And I am definitely one of those people who struggled to share my challenges. So for me, journaling was super important. Through journaling, it really helped for me to open up my voice, for me to be more vocal about my wants, my desires, who I am, what I'm becoming. It gave me more confidence, okay? And it allowed for me to deep dive and address these inner conflicts I was having, address childhood traumas that I had dealt with, a lot of things that I had just buried and figured if I buried it deep enough that I'll be fine, right? I was like, well, if I just never think about it, right, I'll be fine. You're thinking about it. You're thinking about it more than what you think you are, right? And so a lot of the times, those past traumatic experiences are leading how we view the world, how we view people, how we interact with the world. So that's why it's important to address. Okay. So let's start here with this one, right? This activity, it helps for us to address trapped emotions in the body. So with this one, feel into your uncomfortable emotion, right? We're addressing the uncomfortable emotions. What are you uncomfortable about? And one of the things for me that I was uncomfortable about was being a single mother, was raising a son without his father, right? That was something that I was uncomfortable about and I had to address, right? And it was a lot of reasons why I needed to address it because it was keeping me from creating more of what I want and creating the relationship that I desire, right? So that's why it's important. You want to really dive into those uncomfortable emotions. What is it that when you start talking about this, you get uncomfortable, right? And so for some of us, it could be something as simple as gaining new employment or moving into a career that we are really interested in, that we feel comfortable with, right? And so I have heard people say, I've had clients say to me, well, this is all that there is. I tried to get another job, I'm not getting it. You do not want to get in a place where you just accept whatever is being given to you simply because you have tried to move out the box and when you did, it didn't work. That's okay that it didn't work. Sometimes it didn't work for you because that just simply wasn't the fruit for you, right? The tree has not bear the fruit that is for you yet, right? So keep that in mind. You don't want to just claim that something is completely not for you just because it didn't work one, two, three times. Whatever it is that you truly desire and want, you want to truly pursue that. There's a lot of things that you say you want, but as soon as it didn't go quite your way, you bailed. You wasn't consistent with it. You said it just, you was like, oh, it's not working, I'm leaving, right? So diving into those uncomfortable emotions, this allows for you to understand, where is my trapped trauma? Where's my trapped trauma? Is it in my heart, right? Some of us have trapped trauma when it comes to love, when it comes to relationships, and for some of us it goes all the way back to childhood. It was before you ever had your first boyfriend or girlfriend. It was before all of that. It started with the relationship, the connection, and the love that you feel between you and your parent and your parents, right? So looking at uncomfortable emotions is super important. So now we want to look at, what kind of emotions are you avoiding? And that was totally me. For me, I avoided my trauma for a long time, but I was completely navigating from that perspective, from that point. My whole view on the world was coming from a traumatic place, but because I avoided those tough conversations, I avoided dealing with those emotions, right? Running from conflict, me. Oh no, I don't want to have that conversation. I'm not going. Look, you're not referring. I'm not going there. You're nope. I'm not going there. So because of that, now we're just stacking trauma on top of trauma, right? Just stacking trauma on top of trauma. And the more we do that, the more we're going to be living from that standpoint, living from that traumatic aspect. Okay. So we're looking at, what emotions are you avoiding? What kinds of people do you try to avoid? Sometimes we're avoiding certain people because they're a direct reflection of us, right? We can see that such and such is a liar, but not realizing we're a liar too. We can see that they're always procrastinating, but we don't see it within ourselves, not knowing that we're carrying the same burdens as a lot of these people that we're trying to avoid, right? Also look at, if you're avoiding your parents, look at, why are you avoiding your parents, right? If you're Because this can be literally connected to, why do you make certain decisions that you make? Some of us are self-sabotaging ourselves, right? We can see something going so good for ourselves and then we mess it up. There's a reason why you're doing that, right? So in order to get this introspect of who you are, you must learn more about you and why you navigating the way you do. Some of us have indulged in getting to know other people more than our own selves. And so because of that, when we are interacting with other people, we're not sure what we're looking for, and we kind of just settle for everything, right? So we'll take any friend on, we'll take, anybody can be our friend, anybody can be our lover, because we have not truly decided what it is that we're looking for, what characteristics, what traits, match well with ourselves. What makes you feel the most insecure? That'll tell you a lot, right? One of my clients, it was telling me how money financial stability was their biggest hiccup. They was constantly always feeling insecure about it, feeling like things was not going to work out for them. When we took time to do that journal work, took time to really dive into why does this person feel like this? Well, their mother had a poverty mindset, and that mindset was passed on to the child, always thinking that there is a lack of, always saying there's not enough, there won't be enough, we don't have money. Constantly hearing that made this person insecure about money. So no matter how much money they were making, they always feel like it's not enough, I'm gonna be poor. So they had these unpositive, perspectives centered around money. And it's because that's their insecurity. So you want to tap into, what am I insecure about? Once you have located what it is, once you have identified what it is that you are insecure about, you want to work on it. Work on it with positive affirmations, work on it with meditation, work on it with journaling. But you want to be actively telling yourself something to help redirect how you interpret money. So you might want to say something like, I am wealthy, I am financially stable, and you want to keep repeating these affirmations to yourself. Post them up in your room when you wake up. Maybe it's the first thing that you see, it's posted on it's at the bottom of the TV, it's in the bathroom on a mirror. But you want to constantly tell yourself the opposite. Whatever your insecurity you're dealing with. Some of us are dealing with insecurities of lack of self-confidence, lack of self-love. You want to feed into yourself. You want to literally imagine your mind. It's just like a muscle on your arm, and you want that muscle nice and firm and strong so that it can protect you. So you want for your mind to constantly give you thoughts that will protect you. So feed your mind, right? Literally feed it. Tell it what to think, right? I'm constantly telling my mind how to think. When I have the negative emotion, I address the negative emotion with a positive emotion. I don't badger myself about it. I'm like, okay, I understand, but no, that's not the reality. The reality is you're beautiful. The reality is that you always win. The reality is that you have everything you need to win. You have all that you need. You were built with these things inside of you to win. So you want to feed yourself the positive, especially when you see that you're suffering with having these negative thoughts. And please, I cannot say enough how don't beat up on yourself, right? Most of us beat up on ourselves because we were taught that. We were taught that, constantly literally beating up on ourselves, telling ourselves these negative things are going to help us to redirect. No, it actually make things worse. So when I see myself having a negative emotion, I'm not like, oh my God, you're having it. No, I'm just like, oh girl, that's not true. Simple. That's not true, girl. Let me give you something else to think about, because that's not true, right? So that's what you want to do. If you could erase one memory, what would it be? That can tell you a lot. We're asking these questions so we can get to know this dark shadow of ourselves. So asking yourself, what emotion do you wish, what memory do you wish to delete, is going to help you to evaluate what it is that you can be having this tug of war or inner conflict about. Okay. What do you not like about yourself? Another good question to ask yourself. And the purpose, again, of asking these questions is getting to know this dark figure of self, getting to know these elements within yourself that you do not want others to see. It's the part of you that you are hiding. It's the part of you that, even to yourself, it's hard for you to even admit to, right? These are our really dark, secret emotions and feelings, and they typically take a lot to share with others. Usually we don't share these feelings. I was looking at some statistics about counseling and how long does it take for a client to open up to their counselor, their psychiatrist. How long does it take to open up? And you'll be surprised by how many people um lie to their psychiatrists and lie to their counselors, and they're still not willing to really deep dive. And so not only are we lying to them, we're lying to ourselves, right? We're really not diving into what we need to get to, really get into that tough exterior and who are we at the core? Who are we at the ego? What is it that we are looking to truly improve about ourselves? Most of the times we're not being honest about, right? So what are your bad habits? What prevents you from breaking your bad habits? And what kind of lies do you tell yourself? All this helps for you to get to that dark figure of yourself, that element of yourself that you really need to conquer, right? And once you conquer that inner conflict, nothing else truly exists. There's no real other conflict. I always tell people, in every situation you find yourself. That's who you find. In every situation you find yourself, there's always something that you could do, right? So focusing on our dark figures of ourselves allows for us to tap in to that higher sense of self and bring more of that purity of who we truly are out. Because a lot of times the dark figure of ourselves is connected to nothing but childhood trauma. It's connected to trauma that we endured in our early ages. And sometimes it's connected to these deep-rooted sadness and depressions and anxieties and insecurities. Okay. So that's what we're tapping into. And we're tapping into it so that we can free ourselves and be more blissful, right? Because we know the journey of life is gonna have challenges. That's what it's about. It's gonna have challenges. It's a mission. You is almost, think about it like playing a game. It's a mission. Above all, look at the mission like I always win. Like no matter what happens, I win. Like really look at it from that lens. And when you look at it from that lens, when you come across these hurdles and challenges, you're not scared. You're like, man, I got all I need. Armor is on, right? I have all I need. My mental muscle is strong. I know in my abilities, right? So keep constantly feeding yourself this positivity. Most of us have not been fed into like we should, right? We had busy parents, we had absent parents, we had parents that was dealing with depression, we had parents dealing with anxiety, and we had parents who were not addressing their mental well-being because they were too busy working, they was too busy trying to provide, physically for us. And some was just being lazy and they just got to come back and do the journey again. But we do not want for their story to dictate how our story ends. So, regardless of my absent father, regardless of certain childhood traumas, I have decided the life I am going to live. I have decided I am good health. I am sound mind. I am understanding. I am beautiful. I am at ease. I am a constant feeling of greatness. You want to feed your inner self, feed your mind, right? Feed your mind all the things that you need to win the game. Enjoy your beautiful days, loved ones.